Well, hello. The video I made earlier today, which was probably yesterday for many of you, was a bit of a downer. So I thought what I would do is I would do another video where I look at another book, also provided by the excellent Mighty Pups fanboy, who has uploaded the entirety of Dinosaur Adventure. Now I'm going to read through it and, of course, give my transformative commentary. But be warned, this book spoils the entire movie. It lays out the whole plot, and there's not really any big surprises in it, but we didn't know some of the order of the events that this is going to make clear. So if you want to avoid spoilers, and you want to see the movie as a fresh experience, do not watch the rest of this video. But if you're curious, as I am, join me as we go through it. But please do bear in mind that this one doesn't show the flashback. It skips over that little moment, and in a way, I feel like that makes me like it more. So let's go through it. It starts with the credits. It's adapted by Megan Roth, who wrote most of these tie-in books based on the Brunker and Barlin teleplay, and it's illustrated by Dave Aikens, all stalwarts of the franchise by this point. Alright, here we go, Dinosaur Adventure. After making a rescue at sea, the PAW Patrol were caught in a storm. Ryder steered the ship through the fog, while Sky read the map. It's a little hard to read these words at this quality, but we've actually seen this page before. But eventually the ship crashed onto a tropical island. If we're going into that jungle, Ryder said, we need to suit up for the job. So this is the page that initially made me worried that there would be an illogical kind of plot hole where the pups get dinosaur-themed outfits without anybody knowing there are any dinosaurs on the island yet. We don't really know if that's the case. It does seem likely, and I think at this stage I've kind of headcanoned to myself a kind of logical explanation as to why everything is so lizard-shaped and Zuma has dinosaur spines on his helmet. It's all just very coincidental because he was thinking of tropical lizards and sea creatures with spines. I'm going with that. I don't think there's any option if you want it to not be just a big glaring plot hole. Okay, next page. As Ryder and the pups made their way into the rugged landscape, they couldn't believe their eyes. There were dinosaurs everywhere. Definitely a surprise. Cutting out, I guess, the scene where Janice here, you can see lurking in the background, chases them. I should mention, it's not certain that's Janice, and there could be other Spinosauruses other than the one that's named in the show. And that could just be a show thing. We don't know for sure yet. Also, as I pointed out when we saw this page before, Rex is already in his uniform, which is not how it's going to be in the actual movie. Which is also kind of strange because this artwork initially came with a Rex without uniform on. So the artist has added it there. Okay, I also really like this baby Stegosaurus that we get in this picture. Very cute. So, riding atop a Tyrannosaurus Rex was a pup named Rex. Rex had been stranded on the island, but had made it his home. He introduced the PAW Patrol to all his dino friends. That's obviously gonna be... It's a very, very simplified version, but that's okay. That's how these storybooks always are. So, yeah. Unless you foreground it, which the show does, Tyrannosaurus Rex and the pup named Rex is always a little bit awkward to say, but, you know, it's not a big deal, and it is a great name for a dinosaur pup. Okay, moving on. It says the pups set up base camp at Rex's treehouse. While exploring the island, Marshall met a new friend, a baby T-Rex named Rhubarb. we have seen all of these pages before, and I've read this before, but I don't remember every word, so I'm having to struggle with some of the quality here. But yeah, this is a very cute picture of the whole crew. I think there's obviously got to be a time skip for all these humans to arrive, but it'll probably skip straight there. So we've got Hypothesis down here, just not quite making it onto the screen, reading a map. Then we have Dr. Theo Rising, probably played by Bill Nye, but that's not confirmed yet. He's probably a bit of a quack scientist, and he's always been seen carrying the medical supplies in what we've seen so far, but that's just because we've basically just seen this picture in different iterations. Then there's Eugenia. She's probably quite artistic, but we know she's working as a paleontologist of some sort. And then the reporter, what was her name? Lillian Leeds, who we saw with a camera here. Didn't realize she would be both in front of and behind the camera, but yeah, her main thing seems to be she is a reporter. Okay, so far we've seen all of this. After this, it becomes new to us. So this we saw, of course, in the Backstreet Boys video. Back in Adventure Bay, Mayor Humdinger had promised to be a better person. I guess that's how he got out of jail. He kind of maybe convinced people he turned over a new leaf, which of course is going to be hard to keep repeating if that keeps happening in future movies. But then he saw the news about the news alert. I think that says, maybe news report, but news alert announcing the discovery of Dino Island. Big news, of course. Who cares about, what does that say? Oh, stinkin'. Who cares about stinking dinosaurs? Look behind it, kittens. Those are diamonds. Forget earning an honest living. If I could get my hands on those diamonds, I'd be a bajillionaire. I think that's what that says. Pretty hard to read. Then it says, the mayor teamed up with two baddies, Harper and Alistair, and they made their way to Dino Island. Actually, I think this is the first actual confirmation we have that this character is called Harper. We know this because we've been able to infer it from there have been tweets and other social media posts saying somebody is playing a character called Harper, and this was by far the most likely character Harper would be. But this is actually the first real evidence for it. So they made their way to Dino Island. I'm going to be rich, filthy rich. No, filthy, stinking rich. Humdinger and his crew set up dinosaur traps and then set off dynamite to get the diamonds. Kaboom! Okay, so the first thing we kind of learn here is there's more than one big explosion in the Crystal Den. Both the big major set pieces we see are separately set off by Humdinger blowing things up, which is, I mean, it's fine. It's a little bit of a surprise, I think, but, I think, it works. Okay, the explosion caused a dinosaur stampede. A reporter on the scene needed the Paw Patrol's help. So the stampede, I presume, is to rescue Lillian. We have seen her being on the back of a Stegosaurus, I think. She's on the back of a Parasaurolophus here, but I think it's a Stegosaurus in the actual movie. We've also skipped over the getting the Brachiosaurus out of the gorge scene. I'm guessing there's the time skip where humans arrive on the island, and then that rescue is shown as a kind of illustration of how the Paw Patrol have set up the base, and they're in action now. So, Marshall hopped onto Rhubarb's back and clipped a rescue line to the reporter's jacket. So that's what he does. Skye pulled her into the air, but a branch slammed into Marshall, knocking him off his feet. Marshall and Rhubarb both tumbled and disappeared. So Now we know how he gets his injury. It's during this stampede sequence while Marshall is riding on Rhubarb. So this may actually be, the first time we see this kind of dino back riding. Possibly it wasn't that good an idea, especially when you don't really have things that you can grip with. Actually, I guess in the movie they've kind of made it so that their paws can grip. But yeah, this is how he gets injured. Now we know. Later, Marshall woke up in medical bay and learned that Rhubarb was missing. He thought it was his fault. He wondered if the Paw Patrol would be better off without a clumsy pup. Like him. Ryder reassured him, "I didn't pick you because you never make mistakes. I picked you because you're the pup that never gives up." And that's where we get our flashback. But not in this particular adaptation. So now we get, once again, a pup taking unilateral action. This is something that seems to happen in every single movie. They stupidly decide to do things on their own. So it says Marshall wasn't going to give up on finding his friend. Okay, well that's, you can not give up without going solo. He snuck out by himself to look for Rhubarb at night. Odd decision, but maybe in context this will make a lot more sense. But yeah, he doesn't want to give up. Also, he's drawn here without any kind of bandage, any kind of problem with his foreleg, but he will probably be all wrapped up at this point. But in the darkness, Marshall tripped and slipped down a hill. A net scooped him into the air. He was caught in one of Humdinger's traps. He may slip because of clumsiness, but I don't think him getting trapped in a net is something you can attribute to him always messing up or being very clumsy. But I do like the fact that there's another pup here watching and seeing that he has gone ahead on his own and is going to be there for him. We're going to get some Dexter and Martin bonding time. Can't wait for that. When Harper took Marshall to the mayor, the fire pup learned that it was Humdinger who had caused the big explosion. Marshall needed to warn Rex, the dinos, and the rest of the team. But how? So, I guess Harper is the hunter here. It makes sense that she's the one capturing creatures, including Marshall, who looks kind of huge here, but I think it's going to be quite fun seeing him in the net, and I'm looking forward to Rex rescuing him. Of everything we've seen, this is probably the thing I'm most positive about, and it's something completely new to us. We had no idea that Marshall was going to get captured and then have Rex save him. We've learned this only today through this book. So, it continues, then Marshall noticed Rex hiding behind a tree. Rex had followed Marshall's trail and rescued him. They took off running, just as Mayor Humdinger set off more dynamite. Kaboom! This time, the volcano started to smoke. So yeah, there are like two stages to Humdinger's misdeeds. First, he causes the stampede, and that's what leads to Marshall getting injured and Rhubarb going missing, and he causes the volcanic eruption later. They're two separate events. Kind of interesting as a way to do it, and I can't wait to see these two running off together and, having some how should I phrase it? Some connection between them. It's going to be very satisfying to see. Okay, Marshall and Rex made their way back to base camp and told everyone what had happened. We've actually seen this page before. Just then, the volcano erupted and lava started flowing everywhere. Ryder and the pups led everyone to the caverns where they'd be safe, while Marshall drove through the wilderness looking for Rhubarb. So Rhubarb is going to be missing for a fair chunk of this movie. The whole time Marshall is in the medical bay, the whole time he's having his flashback, the whole time he's going out looking for Rhubarb and then getting captured. Rhubarb is not there for all of that. Still, this gives Marshall some pretty heavy motivation. We've seen lots of clips of this sequence, and it's going to be pretty exciting. I think the book versions keep everyone looking very cheerful. But yeah, they're going to be a lot more worried in the actual sequence. I guess Marshall is alone looking worried, but that probably is more to do with the fact that he's going to run Chase over if he's not careful. Okay, this is back to being new to us, and I like this picture quite a lot. Very nice artwork on the right side here. So, it says, Marshall finally found Rhubarb, and together they raced to safety. But a river of lava soon blocked their path to the caverns. They tried to use water blasters to put out the fires, but they needed more water. If I can get up to that cliff and release that water, we might stand a chance, Marshall said. Okay, so this is presenting this moment very differently from the other book. So, as you simplify versions, there can be some variance in how the story gets told. Here, Rocky is there helping him try to put out the lava with with water, sorry. Which isn't what's happening in anything we've seen. And the other book has the rest of the team just trapped, and Marshall has to rescue them. Here, that's just not mentioned. I suspect it's actually this is just an omission for simplicity here, and that is going to happen in the movie. I expect he is rescuing the others when they're trapped. That just adds more stakes, and it would be a weird thing to add into the Little Golden Book if it wasn't the case. Whereas skipping over it for brevity makes sense. So, it says, using his grappling hook, I think that says, Marshall climbed up the cliff while the others watched. He's trying to put out the biggest fire of his life, Ryder said. Suddenly, the rocks started to crumble, and Marshall fell back down the cliff. I think that says back down the cliff. Fell something down the cliff. Okay, next half of this. It says Marshall was okay. He would not give up. So he's proving his mettle here. He started climbing again, and this time made it to the top. Simple as that. But that's probably going to be the emotional high point of the whole movie. So, yeah, let's look out for that particular part to be a little bit more deep and taxing than what that sentence makes it seem like. Once there, he pushed against tall columns of rock until they started to crack. Water began to spray over the island. His plan was working. The fire was being put out. So yes, Chekhov's pool that I mentioned before is instrumental to putting out the big fires that spread after the volcanic eruption. And presumably, the volcanic eruption doesn't last all that long, and it can be just extinguished just like that. Okay, Marshall scrambled down the cliff and ran to find his friends. Ryder threw his arms around Marshall. "You're the pup that never gives up," he said. "You saved us all," Rex replied. "And Rhubarb is there. We don't know how Rhubarb was found. We've seen nice reunion moments where Marshall is greeted by Rhubarb, but how he comes to be here, I guess we have to wait and see, because it is not included in this book. Rhubarb just is there again. But we do have time for poop jokes. Back at base camp, everyone was helping to clean up the island, even Mayor Humdinger. "How much of this prehistoric poop is there?" he asked. "They eat 1,000 pounds of plants a day," Rubble said, laughing. "You do the math." That's their just desserts, I guess. Whether he'll be rearrested after this, I don't know. Looks like it might be one of those community service kind of endings that we get from the show. And then I love this. What a great moment to end on. Marshall had an announcement to make. "Rex," he said, "you've been taking care of this island and these dinosaurs since the day you got here. I'm proud to present you with your very own pup tag, making you a permanent member of the PAW Patrol and the caretaker of Dino Island." All the dinosaurs and pups cheered for Rex with roars, stamps, and howls. And of course, this final climactic scene we have seen already. And now we know the reason. The reason is Rex has been made a Paw Patrol member. The way it's written here makes it seem like Marshall has the authority to just do this unilaterally, but I'm guessing in the movie itself it's going to be more writer's decision. Still, look at these two together. This is so precious. I love this so much. And everyone else in the background too. Very, very cute. Okay, that's it. That summarizes the whole movie. What did we learn from this book? A lot. We learned the structure of the plot. We learned the stampede is the first kind of big emergency, not counting the brachiosaur one that skipped over. And it's caused by Mayor Humdinger. But the first big explosion he doesn't cause the volcanic eruption. So presumably, he could have gathered whatever diamonds he got from the first blast and just left, and everything would have been fine. But he does another big blast, and that one sets off the volcano, causing, the main crisis that drives the rest of the story. From Marshall's perspective, what happens is he meets Rhubarb, and then he rides Rhubarb during the stampede sequence, and is instrumental to the rescue. Sky airlifts Lillian to safety, but Marshall hits a branch, Rhubarb goes missing, and Marshall is injured. He wakes up, has his flashback, and then decides to sneak out to try and find Rhubarb. That goes wrong because Harper has laid traps. He's captured and taken to Humdinger. Then Rex rescues him, so there is some nice time for just the two of them. Then, I don't know if there'll be some of those scenes we saw from the audition script at this point, where Rex reassures Marshall. We haven't actually seen that, but it may happen. Either way, right then and there, they'll have seen Humdinger set off the big explosion that causes the volcanic eruption, so there may not be much time for, bonding. And the two of them go back to warn the others. Then the evacuation happens. Marshall's main job there is trying to put out the fires. There's not enough water, so he climbs up to the top of this rock formation that has the lake or the pool up at the top. Probably big enough to call it a lake. And manages to, with his little tiny pup body, push over rocks in such a way that all the water comes flooding down, puts out the lava, saves the day, presumably saves the lives of his friends who are trapped behind the lava, and, it ends with the triumphant moment of Rex being made a Paw Patrol permanent member, but caretaker of Dino Island, so probably not going to be tagging along with the rest. Okay, this I feel like is a much nicer overall arc than what I've been kind of dwelling on when I've been thinking about that flashback and how it's not what I was hoping it would be. But, as a way of ending on the day on a more positive note, this is super helpful. So, thank you once again to Mighty Pups Fanboy, who made the effort to go and find these books and put these online so we could all see this new information. Obviously, I hope nobody stuck with this through any spoiler warnings and is upset that they got spoiled, but for me, I always knew these books would come out and these books would give us the entire story. It happened last movie as well, and probably, I think it happened for the movie before, too. I wasn't sufficiently into Paw Patrol to have known at that point. But yeah, we were always going to get spoiled by these books, and I wasn't about to hold myself back until the movie came out. And I'm quite happy to have received the basic outline in this way. Alright, let me know what you think. And that's all for today. Click here for that news that came earlier, where another book has told us what the Marshall flashback sequence is going to be. Or click here for another fan animation. That's all for today though, and I'll see you guys again next time.